FlutterFlow just released support for creating AI agents within the platform, and in this video I'm going to be covering everything you need to know. We are going to look at how to use it, what it does, and how it works behind the scene. So stick around. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment on what you think. So by the end of this video, we are going to have something as simple like this. We call it News Daddy, that when you provide a topic, it's going to generate a newsletter and a post that you can share on social media using the AI agent. So I've supplied a simple topic like no code, low code, and AI best practices. And this is a newsletter that you can send to your users, right? Hello innovators and whatnot, and all of this. You can even personalize this and add your name, like edit this content that's been generated. And this is the generated post that you can use, right? With related titles. We have even the hashtags included, and you can just share this post on social media. These are some related titles regarding this post for SEO performance improvement. Anyways, yeah, this is what you're expected to see at the end of this video. So let's get into it. So you can check the documentation. First off, you can check the documentation if you want to explore more or join the conversation around it in the community. So for this demonstration, I have this simple project, and this is what we are going to be using to illustrate all of that. The AI agent has been added to the sidebar here. As you can see, this is it. And right here, you can start creating your AI agent. This is what you need to know. You are supposed to have a Firebase project connected, and the Firebase project needs to be on the Blaze plan because FlutterFlow deploys cloud functions for your agents. And then your desired model, they have support for OpenAI, they have support for Google, and I think Perplexity. So to create a new AI agent, you just need to click on this button to add an AI agent. I'm going to call this say newsletter, for example. This is just an example, and you create the agent. You are faced with this interface where you can describe what the agent is all about. Now this doesn't go anywhere. It's just a description for your project. The system message for the agent is choose the provider and the model. So let's decide what our AI agent is supposed to do. Since I'm calling my agent newsletter, I'm just going to describe it like News Daddy AI agent, something simple as that. And this is the system message that I have for my AI prompt. So I'm going to say it. You are a news daddy that writes clear and engaging newsletter for specific audiences. So what I want this to do is when the user supplies a topic, it creates a newsletter around that topic. So that's what we are going to do. And it is usually very good if you have preloaded messages. So you can give an example like say if the role from the user is, this is just to build the context and make it much more functional, but let's do without that first. So the provider, I'm going to select OpenAI as my provider. This is going to require you to put your OpenAI key. If you are using Google, there's instruction to set that up, and that uses the Vertex AI on Firestore. So you need to go to the Firestore project that is linked on your FlutterFlow project and enable the Vertex AI. If you want to use Anthropic, it's going to require an API key. So let's use OpenAI. And the model, I'm going to use GPT-4o mini. Here you can specify the list of models I want to use. Right here, I'm going to paste my API key. And currently for OpenAI, we have request option as text and or images. So you can choose, like select the two. For example, if the user can supply both an image URL or a text prompt, so you can receive these two from the user. And then the response type, you can choose like how do you want to respond. Is it either text or markdown, therefore formatted text, or a JSON structure? Now let's take, for example, we just need a simple text, or let me say markdown because it's an email that we are trying to compose. Let's take markdown, so that's going to have all the formatting. And the model parameter, you can do all of this: temperature, how much flexible do you want the model to be. So I need it to be creative since it's a writing thing. And the maximum tokens, I'm going to leave that to about 2,500. Just depends on whatsoever thing that you want or what you predict your token is going to need to use. So this is a basic configuration that I have for my NewsDaddy AI agent, and I'm going to publish this agent. If I publish this agent, it's going to create or deploy a cloud function to this project. So we're going to look at that later. So over here on the interface, I'm going to just create a simple input field and a text button that triggers the AI agent. So this is the simple interface that we have. We have this input field where when the user inputs the title or a topic in which they want to generate a newsletter from and click on this button, it's going to trigger that action, and then our response will be displayed down here. So for our response, I'm just going to create a page state, and I'm going to call it something as simple as res, right? And it's a text because that's what we are returning. Markdown is a text, sorry. And I'm going to make it nullable, confirm. So this is what our response is going to be like, and we can just fit in our response inside this column down here. In text, since we are returning a markdown, I'm just going to use the default markdown widget because FlutterFlow has a markdown widget, and that is the widget that we're going to use to display our response that comes in from the AI assistant or the AI agent. So our page state, and I'm going to call this value, and this is what we need here. Now we are done with the setup. We just need to tie the action. Now when you create an AI agent, it is accessible for use under the action panel. So over here, I'm going to do on tap. When we click on that button, then I'm going to search for AI agent, or if you come here under backend and data, backend and under integrations, right, you are going to see this AI agent, and the agent that we have is we need to send a message. So we want to send a message through the AI agent. There are these two actions that we can use, either send message or clear chat history. So send message, and the agent I want to use is this newsletter that we created, our news daddy, and we have this input to send in parameters. So for the conversation ID needs to be unique. That is what helps the agent to keep track of the conversation and also have a thought process about the history of what has been discussed. So for this, I'm going to just use the authenticated user ID, right? Or I can do combined text, so it's much more unique. And I say authenticated user ID, and the other text is I'm going to do something plus say new study, something like that. And this is going to be a unique identifier for this particular conversation, right? And then the text input is going to be the value from the input field that we have, this newsletter topic. And then we need to name our output so that we can catch the response that the assistant sends back. So I'm going to say new newsletter, and this is our response. After we've gotten this response, all I need to do is assign it to that page state that we have. So I'm going to do a state update and update the page state called response, this one that we created, with the value from that, right? The action output and this new newsletter. And this alone is good to start running that our AI agent. So let's test that and see. So this is the interface, and for the topic that I want to generate a newsletter about, I'm going to do this. Why should you use FlutterFlow like this? I'm going to generate a newsletter around it. And before doing that, I'd like us to inspect the network tabs to see and make sure that our keys or our API key doesn't get exposed. Alright, so generate newsletter. So it is calling this API call. Let's look at it. Wait for the result. Alright, beautiful. The result has come back. Let me just look at this payload. So we have our data, which is FlutterFlow and messages. Alright, cool. So it doesn't send anything. It doesn't like expose that key. I might need to make this scrollable just so our interface is much more appealing. So unlock your app development potential FlutterFlow. Hello. Yeah, that addresses that. So this is a newsletter, and you can now forward to your users. I think this is very good. Now let's experiment other formatting methods that the AI agent supports, right? So seen Markdown, let me try something like a JSON. For that, I'll still like to maintain this newsletter agent that we have, right? I'm going to create a new one, and then let's change the formatting for that one. So the agent that I want to create is the one that's going to generate a social media post. So it's going to have title, content, and maybe hashtags. Right? So let's do all of that. And maybe possibly like related titles just for SEO issues and possibilities. So I'm going to duplicate this agent that we have, duplicate, and I'm going to call this new one post gen, something like that. Let's just keep it simple. Post gen, and yeah, the description, post generator. Well, for just okay for our distinct system message, I'm going to say something like you are an advanced AI specialist in creating specialized in creating engaging and impactful social media posts. The most important thing is you are generating the post that includes catchy title, a concise, compelling body text, and relevant hashtags. So I'm also going to include the post should be tailored to the target audience and platform. So I'm just instructing the system message to tailor based on the topic that is being given. Right, so we are using the same OpenAI model, the same everything, and this time I want us to return a JSON. Now, FlutterFlow says here, JSON response, you must describe the JSON structure you want the assistant to respond with in the system message. The assistant will format the response according to your specific schema. So, off the bat, these are some improvements that these guys can make. System prompts are usually not this small, so they can make this text field expandable. So it should be longer than this, because if you write within this field and it gets very, very long, there's no way for you to be flexible. And also try to paste, have us define our data type that we can just inject inside here. But anyways, let me create my data type. So this is my complete system prompt. I have all of these prompts defined. Then I say respond in JSON of this format. Title, which is a title of the post. The body, which is the body of the post. Hashtag, a list of hashtags. Related, a list of related titles. And like I mentioned here inside my prompt, my system prompt, I said some related titles for SEO, right? So these titles are going to help that post rank more. So I'm going to copy all of this and just input here inside our system prompt message. Paste, and we have that here. Now this is a very good place to add a message so you don't have the AI confused. So for example, I'm going to do like a sample message, and what I've done here is I just head over to one of these AI tools and I have supplied the same prompt. Then I asked it to write about no code and AI advancement, and this is the response that it gave me. So what I'll do here, for example, is I'm going to do a user prompt. Now a user role, sorry, it's the message that is coming from the user. So the message that came from the user is simply no code and AI advancement. I'm going to copy that and paste this. Again, these are just configurations that we are doing so that our model or our AI agent performs very, very well. Then I'm going to add another message in this order. So after the user supplied the topic no code and AI advancement, what did the assistant respond? The assistant gave us this output. This is just a typical example. It doesn't matter. Just so that our AI agent is aware and very conscious of the kind of response that we are expecting from it. So I'm going to paste that, and here it should be good to go. So everything is set. I can uncheck image here because we don't need to pass in any image, right? And I can deploy this. Now our post-gen AI agent will also be deployed, and we can go behind and use it. So while that is deploying, I'll head over here and I'll still tie that same action onto this button. So I'm going to say generate newsletter, and let me say and post, right? So that it should do the same thing. The same button should generate newsletter and post based on this topic that was supplied and post. And down here, this is where we show our newsletter. I'm going to create a tab that also displays the post. Now we know that FlutterFlow doesn't currently support a way for us to inject this output or our expected data type, our expected output to a specific data type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a data type manually, and I just hope this works. Again, I'm trying this. So I'll come over here on to data types, right? This is where we have it. And I'm going to paste this JSON response that we have. Let me say post output. I'm just hoping this is going to work. We're testing. And I'll paste this example JSON that we have here. So title is a text, body is a text, hashtags is a list of text, then related is a list of text. So create, and it actually created a data type for us. Now the idea why I'm doing this is because we need to use this in the way we present the data, right? We need to use this the way we present the data. So after our API call has gone through, or after our AI agent has executed and given us a response for the post, we need to cast that response to our data type so that we can use it on our interface. This is me doing a lot, but for our interface, I'm just going to create a component for our interface for the post because I want something beautiful. I'm going to create a component and I'm going to describe how that component should look. I need something that's going to present the title, the body of the post, the list of hashtags and suggested titles in a very beautiful way, and a button that can be used to share. So I'm going to prompt that. So this is my prompt. I'll say a user-friendly and visually appealing component that displays a title, content, hashtag, and list of related titles for a social media post and a button to share. So I want to generate that component. That component is what I'm going to use to present the response after our post-gen AI agent has been executed. So let's wait for that. Now, if you are creative with design, you can go ahead and design something simple for your use case. But I just find this to be very, very helpful and simple for me to represent. So preview, title, the list of hashtags and topic. Yeah, I think this is good. it's not bad. I'm going to just use it as it is. Insert component, and I'm going to say generated post component. Let's just call it that, and I'm going to create this component, and this is our component that we have and we're going to use. So I'm just going to fix this up and we can get onto using it. All right, so we have this view. Now what I want this component to receive is should receive a parameter, and the parameter is our data type, right? The parameter is of this data type, let's say post, or the variable post, and the data type, our generated post data type. So let's come here and select it. It's required, our post output. Now let's confirm that. And as simple as that is, we just need to map this to the parameter that it has received. So our heading or our post title should be the post data structure field title, default value. I'm just going to give a space here. Now this should be the description, right? Or the post content as we say. So post data structure value, our body, and we're going to have something like that. And for the choice shapes are going to be the list of the options that we have or list of hashtags. So I'm going to define the options from this post, data structure field, and hashtags. So we have that. So we have our hashtags that are going to be shown there. And for the related titles, I'm going to wrap this into a list view because that's what I want it to be. I'm going to wrap it into a list view and then generate dynamic children within that list view to have the related titles. So come over here and I'll say related should generate dynamic children from post data structure field related from and the content of each should be the related item value. I'm going to put space on this. Right. So this is our simple widget that we need here. Then over to our page back here, I'm going to give two tabs, right? So I'm going to wrap this container into a tab. I hope that can work. So one for the post and one for, I call it, one for the newsletter and one for the post. So right here, we have our newsletter will be shown here and the generated post is going to be shown here. So we are good to go. Now what is remaining is for us to also create a variable that is going to hold the post, right? Because right here on the sidebar on the, this thing, the page variable, we have this for the newsletter. Now I'm going to call this generated post and it's of this data type, the post output data type. So confirm that, and when that is returned, we need to pass it into this component that we have available here. So let's go page state, the gen post, confirm. Now all of this is done. Let's go ahead and tie the action that also generates. Remember, what we have here, the action that we have here is just generating the newsletter. We need the action that generates the post too. So I'm going to do generate newsletter, update the page state. I can even do like parallel actions. I think that that's a good place. Again, I'm doing a lot, but this is just like how you can use this thing. So let me cut this. So I've added a parallel action. Our action one calls the AI agent, this one for the newsletter daddy, and updates this page state. Our parallel two, I'm going to paste the same action chain again. And instead of calling the newsletter, let's call our post gen, and the text field still remains the same, right? But now for the conversation ID, we are having an error here, so we cannot use duplicate conversation ID. So for this conversation ID, instead of news daddy, I'm going to call it post daddy or whatsoever. It's just a unique identifier. And for the page state that we have to update from here, so the resulting here is new post. So the actions that we have should happen in parallel. So we have the one that generates a newsletter and post gen. See, both of them start at the same time. So let's see which one comes back first and what output we are going to get. For the newsletter, all right, so we have our post generation. Our post generation came first before the newsletter. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, subject understanding the difference between agent versus AI assistants or whatever thing. Oh, there's even a table. This is interesting, right? So if I'm sending a newsletter, this is probably what I need to update or whatever. We can improve the prompt so that it eliminates all of this, right? And then for our post, cool. AI agents and AI assistants, understanding that. So we have all of this. This is the post title. This is the contents of the post. right? These are hashtags, and then the related titles. I probably need to fix this UI so that it scrolls. But yeah, this is what we have here, and I think this is very, very beautiful, and you can now post. So this has been demonstrating how we can use these AI agents. Now, what I want us to see is actually check what FlutterFlow does on the back, right? So let's check it out. So over here on FlutterFlow, I'm going to open the projects that we have connected on Firebase, right? And I'm checking the functions to see what functions get deployed by FlutterFlow. And as you can clearly see, we have our post gen and our newsletter. So this is interesting. Let me take, for example, like post gen. Let me see what you can try to go and read the cloud function and see what FlutterFlow actually done. FlutterFlow has actually done. Now, another thing I want to also check is my OpenAI Developers Console. So I'm going to open that. So here I'm going to go to the playground and well, I'm not sure what FlutterFlow does, but let's see. We have prompts. Let me see assistants. This is just my thinking of how this thing actually works, and I think this is what they are doing. So right here, this is a list of assistants I have. Oh, as you can see, newsletter. Why is newsletter 2? And what do we have? Post gen. Why do you have post gen? Okay. So if I click on newsletter, for example, this is the prompt. Exactly, this is the prompt that we have. So I think FlutterFlow added, please format your response using Markdown syntax for better readability. This is interesting. So that's what they have done. And let me see this post gen that we have. Open that, pull our prompt ended here. Then they say, please provide your response in a valid JSON format. Anyway, so FlutterFlow behind the scene is just using our API key to create an assistant and then also deploys, probably triggering that assistant using the cloud function or whatnot. We can further test and see what happens if we try to use like Claude. I think it's the same procedure, the same thing is going to happen. But let me see the details of this code and just to get an idea of what they are doing. So if I open the code here, so this is the code, briefly routing, scrolling through it. Well, you can see here, it looks like a user needs to be authenticated before this call is made, right? Okay, I think this is also in their documentation. But if you need to use, say, an AI agent without a user being authenticated, you can probably edit this cloud function and remove this section. Hopefully, there's no other invocation somewhere that we are missing. And it simply does that where it just dumps our API key here. I thought they'll create a secret. And it's simply an assistant call. This code is simply calling an AI assistant. Now, I'm not sure why they are calling it agents. Hopefully, let's hope they are going to improve the means of passing parameters and doing much more other configurations with this thing. Things like having access to your Firebase database and also referencing things from there like knowledge base or doing things just to improve user experience. But without that, I think this is what we have so far. Now, here's another additional note. Something like if we create a new assistant, right? Let me just do something like this, a new agent, and we use other models like, let's take for example, this Google. When we want to trigger this assistant behind, we can pass both things like an image from our file system or other types of files like audio too, which are supported. But for these other models like the OpenAI Anthropic, therefore from these guys, they don't support that yet. So hopefully this thing is going to be changed. Now what I'm wondering now is if I delete an assistant, does it go behind and delete? If I delete an agent, does it go behind and delete the corresponding cloud function and also the AI agent? So I might have to test that. If you'd like to see that result, maybe I'll leave it down in the comments when I test it. But that's very, very cool. Let me know what you'd like to see next time, and so be sure to check out the channel. There are so many resources that you can gain there. Let me know what you like to see next time, and thank you for watching.